This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hi, and thanks for listening. This is Moments of Clarity. My name is Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And we're doing this virtually from home, staying separated, socially distanced, but still batched into the radio, still accepting live callers. And you're all welcome to call in and join the show at 866-826-1340. Once again, 866-826-1340. And it's all the same. We're live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and other podcasts as well. I want to say thank you to Ryan behind the scenes and helping us with all the special effects and everything, Ryan Moulton. And I want to say hi to Ed before introducing our guest. And I see Lola there too. Hi, Lola.
Happy Thursday. Yes, that's just a cardboard cutout.
Lola's the radio station owner. So I didn't forget to see her anymore. I miss you, Lola. But yeah, so anyway, so how are you doing, Ed?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
You sound like you got a cold.
A little bit.
All
The
right.
allergies.
All right.
A little bit. But doing well.
Good.
Yeah, a little congested today. I wanted to turn into one of those sexy congested voices where it's like, like where you get a cold and then everyone's like, wow, you sound good singing like this. But it's not there yet. Now I just sound stuffed up. But we're going to have a great show today. And my guest today is a mindset coach, but she focuses on men and healing and men and their mental health. And it's like, wait, what? But yeah, so Gretchen Hernandez, I want to welcome. She's been achieved life-saving relief from her decades of long struggle with depression and anxiety. And then when she applied mindset and business coaching and techniques on herself, found freedom and has a podcast called Freedom Grove. And we're going to get into all of that. But I want to welcome to Moments of Clarity, Gretchen Hernandez. And Gretchen, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Tiffany. Thank you so much for having me.
So, okay, well, instantly, when I met Gretchen, not too long ago, but instantly when she started to tell me about her approach to mental health, it was unique. And I was like, well, I must share this on the show because it's, we want to end the stigma on mental health for everyone. And not just, I mean, we have to have some things that are gender specific and want to explore all options for mental health that somebody would be comfortable because everyone's individualized. Everyone has some things that they'll buy into and that works for them or they can relate to, and some people, it's just different things work for different people. That's why there's so many different approaches. The brain is a very, very phenomenal piece of our whole mind, or it's a powerful organ. So anyway, let's go back to how this all began for you, Gretchen, and what got you to this point in your life, like your moment of clarity, so to speak.
My moment of clarity. I started thinking about that. How would I answer that? Because I feel like I've had several different defining moments throughout my whole life, but really the part that changed everything for me was what I call my white light moment. So this was in 2017. I've been struggling with depression since I was probably in my teen years. I was officially diagnosed at 19 with major depressive disorder, and then eventually with general anxiety disorder also. But in 2017, it all came to a head. So I had this very successful career as a scientist and software specialist and business coach. And then, and I had the family, I had the house, I had all of this. And yet I was struggling with suicidal thoughts all the time. And 2017, it just really came to a head. And I was fighting suicide every single day. I was driving home from work on a 2-lane highway, and there's these telephone poles. And I was fighting the urge to run into these telephone poles every single driving home. And I got to this point where I realized it was really my final decision point, because I had some really strong suicidal feelings in the past, but this was like way beyond, because I felt, if I'm this successful, why do I feel this awful? And I'd go to work, everybody would need me. I'd come home, everybody would need me. And I was at my breaking point. And so I had a decision to make. That's why I call it my white light moment, is that, white light's going on up to the sky. Either I'm going to go that way or I'm going to have to find another way. But it couldn't be the way that I was living, because there was something about the way that I was living that was making me feel just absolutely awful. And I had been trying to get access to care for over 2 years. And I had a great job with like the best medical insurance ever. I couldn't get a counselor. There was nobody available. The whole system was completely impacted. The only way that I'd be able to do it was to pay out of pocket. And so I decided then that I was going to do that. And it was a hard choice, because I'm a provider for my family. So it's like paying that money out of pocket was going to be a big investment. But I got to that point where I realized I had to do something really drastic for myself, or else I wasn't going to be around to help everybody that was always looking to me to be their strong person. And that was one of the problems, was that I've always been so strong and so independent that anytime that I asked other people for help, or I just needed someone to talk to, I just get dismissed of, oh, no, you're strong. You've got this.
Yeah, I go through the same thing. And also, who do you go to when you are the person, when you are the provider that seems to have all the answers,
Exactly. And so I was fortunate enough that a really strange thing happened. I started getting some Facebook ads in my feed. And at the time, I only had friends and coworkers and stuff as friends on Facebook. And so it was strange that I was getting ads. I had never had ads show up before.
What do you mean? Like ads, like advertisements?
Yeah. People selling
running
things. People selling things.
Isn't it weird that things show up when you are thinking about something and researching it, all of a sudden the ads that you really like,
the ones that you need the most, pop up right when you need them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No one's watching us ever.
Or listening.
No. That's all a conspiracy. Just say.
But it even if it is true, which I do kind of believe that it is, because it does, it's just, too,
it's kind of convenient.
But I was so grateful, because the two things that popped up in my feed, one was called the Big Life Journal, which is all about teaching growth mindset to kids. And then the other one was from the Life Coach School. It was Brooke Castillo. And she had this book on, if I'm so smart, why can't I lose weight? And I mean, look at me, obviously, losing weight has always been something that's on my mind, because you see advertisements on TV. Hey, if you lose weight, you're going to be happy. Well, I've been struggling with depression for 30 years. I wanted to be happy. So if this was one thing, but I knew that my thoughts were getting in my way. Like, I know that I'm an emotional eater. I eat for stress, like all sorts of things. So
you're beautiful.
What's that?
You're beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So,
losing a lot of weight just makes you saggy. Have you ever noticed people over the age of 30? They just start looking aged. Like, I don't know, just saying. I'd rather look younger, like a little rounder than saggy and droopy. Just saying.
So I decided that I was going to just allow these things to come into my life. If they showed up in my Facebook feed, maybe it was something I actually needed to look at. So when I started to look at this Big Life Journal, I was like, well, what's growth mindset? What's this all about? And it was just for kids, but it led me to Carol Dweck's book on mindset, the secret success or secrets to our success, something like that. And it was teaching me the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And fixed mindset are all of these different thoughts that we're thinking that prevent us from going forward. So we might feel like we're limited in our abilities or our intelligence, or that, other people have all the luck. We don't have all of the luck, but it basically keeps you stuck. And then
making you look at the negative rather than the positive, right?
Right. Well, and there's some of it that we might not even realize is negative. Like we look at it and we might even think this is a really good thing. And it actually, when we tease it apart and look at it, we realize it holds us back. And we didn't even realize it. And then growth mindset is letting us know that our mind is limitless. We can grow our mind and our capability in everything that we want to do. And I was like, okay, that's great. So I read the book cover to cover. I was like, this is great information, but how do we do it? And that's where Brooke Castillo came in. So I'm reading her book on, if I'm so smart, why can't I lose weight? And she has what she calls the coaching model, where she talks about there's circumstances that happen in life. It's just some facts. I call it just a noun and a verb. And then it goes, our brain automatically assigns a thought to it. From our thought comes our feelings, and then our actions and our results. It's a 5-step process. And I thought, this is something I can kind of understand, because as a business coach, I do a lot of process mapping. So you take some kind of business process that people never really thought about. You're just doing your business and, you're at work, whatever your job is. It could be retail, it could be corporate, it doesn't really matter. There's always a series of steps that happen. And some of those steps you dive down and there's more detailed steps. This was basically doing a process map of all of our thoughts. I thought, okay, I can grab onto this. This is something that I'm familiar with. And so by doing that, it helps us to work backwards, because a lot of times we're reacting out of our feelings and we don't really know why. And so we might try to use willpower to change our actions. And it ends up making us feel worse because we're fighting our natural tendencies, but we're doing this great thing. We're pushing through, but we feel worse. And I realized that's pretty much so what I'd been doing most of my life. It's like, yeah, I might be resilient because I've had this successful life, but it's because I have been using willpower or just pushing myself to go forward. But
or like not using mindfulness. And and it's like part of dialectical behavioral therapy. DBT is also, we're not reacting with emotion, staying in the present, staying mindful, and reacting, not reacting, basically being in the present and understanding what's going on and thinking before we speak or react as well.
Yeah. So what I had learned is that I could work backwards. Anytime that I had these feelings that I didn't like, or an action or a result that I didn't like, I could basically process map this out, analyze it, because most likely whatever that trigger was, that circumstance, is something that's going to happen again. And I want to have a different feeling because I'm on a quest to try to get rid of my depression. And I know that there's all sorts of different things that contribute to my depression, but this was an area that I had never checked out. Sure, there's been some of the affirmations. We see all the nice sayings out there and we say them over and over. It's like we feel good temporarily and then it goes away. This was helping me to actually change my thoughts permanently, because I could map it out. I could see everything on paper as if it's data. And so I have a background in science. I started off as a microbiologist before I got into anything. So I am very data oriented and experimentation and trying out different factors and seeing what works. And
probably a very visual learner if you need to map it out and write it down and all of that.
Absolutely. So once we get all of the thoughts and everything down on paper, we can see it as separate objects. Because the one thing that I had never really considered is that thoughts are always optional. It's just our brain is so fast that we're always thinking just like at warp speed without catching ourselves and going, oh, wait, I can choose to think that, or I can choose to think something else. But by working this process map backwards, we can decide what kind of feeling we actually do want to feel. And then we can start to think, okay, what thought that I actually believe in could I think instead about this circumstance that will give this feeling?
Right, because a lot of thoughts, they might not be optional, they could be intrusive, but we have the choice to listen to it and continue to think that way.